The BMW E21 is the first generation of the 3 Series produced between 1975 and 1983. Its engine choices span from a detuned measly 1.6 liter to a hulking M20 2.3 liter 6-banger. It is important to note that we're not talking about any random E21 here. We're talking about Adams' E21. Adams really likes his minty green 316, but apparently not enough to give it a name, so I had to do that myself. One of the quirks and features of this magnificent machine is that after driving it for a little bit, it tends to get a little bit spicy. To remedy this problem, a lot has already been done. However, the problem remained, and so we decided to replace the radiator. Finding it at a good price turned out to be a problem in and of itself, as the OEM one was about as expensive as an upgraded unit. Adams big-brained it here and managed to find the used radiator out of an E28, made some brackets for it, and using some remaining E36 hoses, we managed to hook it up.
Pipes in here. That one is a little bit sus.
Although the initial test drive revealed no issues, we deemed it as insufficient. How can a short drive across town ever prove anything? Obviously, it couldn't. That is why a plan was hatched. A plan that would really test the old Granny Smith and her new modification. A plan of a camping trip of 3 boys spanning over 7 days and 4 different locations. A plan for another road trip. The day of our departure, we all gathered to pack the car. Each of us brought some of the things required. We needed our bare essentials like tents, sleeping bags, chairs, a cooler, Makita 227-piece toolset. Adams had a good idea to overfill the car before the start. However, he didn't take into account that he did so in an old BMW and that the tank filler neck would leak. Because of that, we were now losing our precious nectar, and we also became a fire hazard. Adams quickly calmed me down, telling me that he had equipped the car with a fire extinguisher, and that it was, quote, all good. Because we were already behind schedule, we didn't have time to worry about silly things like catching on fire, so we had to hit the road. Just like that, we were on our way. Adams behind the wheel, me reading the stage notes in the passenger seat, and Jeff vibing in the back. When we were already driving for a while, we smelled something burning. Luckily, it was not what you think. Our oak flame decided to do a little trolling in the coastal region of Slovenia, which led to the biggest bushfires in the history of our country. The smoke could still be felt even after we entered Croatia and arrived at our first desired destination, the Istralandia water park. Unfortunately, you couldn't take a GoPro on the slides, so he had to sit this one out. But here's a nice little recreation of the experience for you viewers.
Where are we going?
We're going home.
No.
To our new home.
After we stayed in the park for so long that they literally had to kick us out, we headed to our first camping spot in the city of Medulj. And because we spent so much time looking for a perfect lot, it was already dark when we started building our tents. Adam speedran his build using his pro gamer setup and absolutely embarrassed me and Jeff with our cringe normal tents. What are you gonna say?
Quick build.
Next morning, after we had some breakfast, we packed our essentials and headed to the Kamenjak Peninsula, one of the most interesting parts of the trip.
Jeff, get hype.
First of all, we drove around till we found a cozy little space in the shade where we could rest and chill. In the afternoon, we moved on to the tip of the peninsula, where more interesting things awaited. Jeff found this bunker, left over from the war times, and decided to explore it. But the piece de la resistance was this. That was an underwater cave. Well, it's not technically underwater, it's just that the entrance to it is underwater most of the time. It has a couple of chambers and a window where you can climb out on the other side. There is also another underwater exit, but it's quite tight and therefore a drowning hazard. Plus, it's pretty dark there and you have a high chance to meet bouts. After exiting the cave, we did a bit of high diving and we visited the safari bar, which is a neat little bar hiding in the bushes. How do you like the safari bar, Jeff?
Great.
very positive experience, you'd say even.
Yes. Se vidimo. Addio.
We own Shipdock Islands now. Me neither. Next day it was time to move forward, but since the green jelly bean was lacking in nectar, we needed to top it off at the next gas station. Since we didn't want to waste even a single drop, Adams took on the role of a senior supervisor and made sure that any possible leakage would be prevented. We drove through hills, fields and cities and finally arrived at the island Kirk. We wouldn't be spending a night on Kirk, but we came here for a very specific reason. This is, or rather was, Haludovo Hotel Palace. A hotel resort that was one of the most luxurious in the former Yugoslavia. The hotel had its own beach, an indoor and outdoor swimming pool, and even a bowling alley. It was abandoned sometime in the early 2000s. Because there was no security, the hotel became a prime target for squatters and vandals, and it decayed faster than your average 6th generation Civic. Since me and Adams were both here before, we knew exactly what to show Jeff. We visited the basement, the boiler room, the pool water tank, the cold room, as well as some rooms in the upper floors. With our urban exploration quota reached for the day, we headed to our accommodation for the night. Because we slept in a hotel, on a proper bed, we started the next day with a full energy bar. After a hearty breakfast, it was time to hit the road again. And the road in question was no other than my favorite road, the almighty Jadranska Magistrala. Being a really nice long coastal road with great turns, fresh asphalt and such a pleasure to drive, Adams proceeded to give it the beans. However, the fun quickly ended, as it usually does, when we encountered an entire convoy of cars, all being slowed down by a single RV that decided to take this route instead of the faster highway, and then not give way to everyone lining up behind them, which made us very angry. We continued driving towards our next destination, the island Murter. Like Kirk before, Murter also uses an intuitive solution to the ferry ticket. The first thing to do while on Murter was to find a camping spot. Since the camp didn't take reservations, we were a little worried at first, but we managed to find a nice spot under some olive trees. And after we set up our tents, Jeff decided to enrage the local spider population. No, Jeff, no. Our primary objective on Murter was just to relax a little bit, as we've been walking around for pretty much all day every day up until now. So our first day on Murter we spent chilling in the chairs and swimming in the sea. Next day was a bit more interesting. We were on a boat. A little fun fact, the boat was actually powered by a 5.7 liter Chevy Vortec V8 motor, producing about 300 horsepower all motor. Because we still wanted to do some urban exploring, we went up to the top of the island where there were some bunkers left from the war. But these were a lot bigger than what we saw in Kamenjak. There were actual mineshafts here, going through multiple levels and connecting different rooms. There were also some sections outside with a great view on the surrounding islands. Inside it was complete darkness, so we needed to shine our way through with our phones, and also keep boats at bay. On one of the stairways, Adams managed to snap this picture.
Me and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for
Later on, we decided to get some burgers. But not just any burgers. Moo burgers. If you're ever on Murter, go do yourself a favor and get some burgers from here. Trust me, I've got 2 written testimonies of people who claim these are the best burgers they've ever had. They're fucking delicious. On the last day, we packed up our camp early because it already started to rain in the morning. We headed home, and on the way we also tried to see what the top speed of the lime fruit is. Of course, this was done by a professional driver on an enclosed circuit. With no further incidents, we safely made it back home, and that was the end of the road trip. Oh, and did the car overheat? No.